Hey everyone, it's Dylan with SeaTee Aquatics, and today we're talking about flow. So why is flow so important in our fish tanks? The number one main reason why flow is so important in our fish tanks is gas exchange. Gas exchange is the process of exchanging CO2 that is building up in the water that is respirated by the fish and coral into the air in exchange for oxygen that the fish and coral can then use to breathe, and the process repeats. Flow is crucial to this process because it creates water movement, and the water movement is what releases the gases into the atmosphere and allows the water to absorb fresh oxygen. This makes flow super important for both fish and coral health, meaning that this is required regardless of what kind of tank you're keeping, so long as you plan to keep anything living. Now, if you're doing a fish-only system, you can get away with lower flow so long as you have enough for the fish to be able to swim through something and for there to be at least some surface movement for the gas exchange to occur. Other than that, the rest of the flow in the tank will mostly be determined by the types of coral that you keep in the system. With that being said, there are other reasons why flow is so important to our reef tanks. The first being nutrient absorption. What this means is that without flow, any of the additives that we add into our tank aren't going to get stirred into the water, and therefore they'll never reach the coral, meaning the coral will never be able to absorb any of it and use it for its growth. The second main reason that flow is important is for waste removal. Detritus is going to naturally build up in the tank over time, and having higher flow will help to keep this stirred up into the water column so that it can be removed by mechanical filtration. If you end up with large areas of detritus building up in the tank, it may be a sign that you need to adjust your power heads or even add more. If you feel like you have sufficient flow and you're still ending up with a pocket of detritus in maybe a hard to reach area, I would just recommend removing the detritus with a siphon during weekly water changes. So now that you know why flow is so important, let's talk about how to optimize it. Personally, I think having a turnover rate of at least 10 times per hour is super important, but I've heard of people recommending up to even 100 times per hour depending on the type of coral. What turnover rate means is that if your tank is, let's say, 100 gallons, then you would have, if it's a 10 times turnover rate, 1,000 gallons per hour of flow. And that's how you would determine which power heads you would buy. Typically, I would only recommend a 10 times turnover rate on a tank that has maybe LPS or soft coral, as they do not require super high flow. But for tanks that have coral like SPS, I would recommend up to even 50 times per hour, meaning that if your tank is 100 gallons, you have up to 5,000 gallons per hour of flow. Determining this early on and determining what types of coral you're going to keep is important so that you know which power heads are going to be effective in your system. I would also recommend using multiple power heads, as having one source of flow can cause a lot more dead spots in the tank. Having multiple power heads can cause better water movement and can cause detritus to get stirred up much better. Having the power heads on opposing sides of the tank facing right at each other can also help to generate a more random flow pattern in the tank, which has been proven to be healthier for coral and in general tends to help remove detritus just a little bit better than a standard direct flow pattern. Remember, the main goal with the flow is to eliminate as many dead spots as possible. So even if you have a lower flow rate, you still want to adjust your power heads in a way to help prevent detritus from building up in different areas of the tank. As mentioned, different coral require different amounts of flow in the system, but it's also important to note that coral require different types of flow. SPS, which likes higher flow rates, also tends to like more direct flow, whereas LPS and soft coral tends to like more indirect flow, meaning that there's water moving around them, but the power head isn't shooting water directly at them. Versus direct flow, you can put the coral pretty much directly in front of the power head. Finally, it's important to note that you may need to adjust your power heads and flow over time as your coral grows, especially hard coral, as it may grow in front of the power head, blocking it and cutting off flow to different areas of the tank. In this case, it may even be necessary to add additional power heads. So there you go. Today, we've gotten to talk about flow and how it's so crucial within the reef environment. Hope you enjoyed what you saw, and remember, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications to join us on our journey through the sea. Or drop a comment below and let us know what you thought of the video. Thanks for watching.